What is going on, Chiefs Kingdom? Welcome back to a very special episode of the Kingdom Says. I am your usual host, Garrett Williams, and I'm joined by one of my normal co-hosts today, Mr. Kyle Henning, on the top right of the screen. How we doing, Kyle?
Not too bad. It's Thursday here, getting ready to head into Red Friday for the Chiefs, and ready to talk some mailbag questions from some of the viewers and listeners with a friend here. So ready to go.
Yep, and that friend joining us is the artist chief himself, Corey Jones. How we doing, Corey?
Hey guys, welcome to another episode of The Kingdom Says.
Yeah, so we got a very special episode today. A little bit of a dual episode here. We're gonna have some Packers analysis or some Bills analysis for this upcoming Bills game at the end of the episode here. But we're gonna start the episode off with this wonderful mailbag of questions that we've got. Which was we were doing in accordance with Corey, doing a giveaway over on our Twitter and asking questions on YouTube, all the different stuff. Kyle's got one of the prints right there. Corey's got the other print that you could win right there. So we will end up announcing that winner for the contest on a later date, very soon. Probably the same day that you're listening to this episode. On Friday, we'll announce that winner. But in today's episode, we will be going through some of the mailbag questions. So to be entered into that giveaway, you had to ask a mailbag question over on our YouTube on just any of our episodes of the past couple of weeks. And with that, you'd be entered. And we've got a good amount of questions here that we're going to go through. Me, Kyle, and Corey here. And yeah, it's going to be a good time, guys. We excited or what? We get ready for some for good mailbag questions?
Ready for some questions.
Let's go.
Right. Yep. So without further ado, let's jump right into it here. Going in, I guess I should preface this by saying we're going in chronological order, I suppose. So the first set of questions will be from about 2 weeks ago after that Eagles loss, which was the first episode in which we started the giveaway. So we'll be kind of encompassing everything from the Chiefs season up the past couple weeks up to that point. The first question is from one Mr. Stuart McLean at McLean Jr. 1979, who asked, "How did you expect the game to turn out honestly? And did you think the Chiefs defense would be able to keep the Eagles offense off the field?"
I mean, that's for the Eagles game? Yeah. I mean, the game went pretty much how we kind of expected, other than the foot shooting that they decided to do for that game. I expected the defense at that point, when it was fully healthy and rolling, to do just fine against them, comparatively speaking, to the way they performed in the Super Bowl, because they are a much better defense than they were the year prior. So at that point in time, they did exactly what I expected on the defensive side of the ball, and the offense did more frustrating things that game. And then turned out we got to see some more frustrating things of not the exact same frustrations, two of them the exact same frustration, misrun route twice. But a lot of the other things were cleaned up, just didn't have enough possessions to really see that happen because the defense got so banged up against the Packers. But so to Stewart's question about the Eagles game, it kind of went how I expected, and minus the foot shooting that the Chiefs did.
Yeah. Corey, how did you expect the Eagles game to go?
I will just say this: the offense let us down. Next question.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you. It's like you said, the defense was so much improved from what the matchup was in the Super Bowl. So you just kind of would hope that the offense would step up and do their job. But obviously it was kind of a trend that we've seen throughout the entire season up to that point of the offense just falling short and shooting themselves in the foot and whatnot. So it kind of went as you expected, even though we didn't quite want it to be that way. Defensively wise, I mean, the defense did fine for what it was. I mean, they held them to 21 points. They only scored 14 in the second half. It's just, if the Chiefs could score at all in the second half, you win the game pretty easily. So it's just one of those things that really it was more of the offense's failures, which has kind of been the theme this season, really. So next question here, we've got from at JHTTI23875, a familiar face to the program here. Even with a few issues, we seem to have figured out a lot of good things in the first half, especially running the ball, and then it disappeared. Thoughts on our bad/lack of adjustments? Eagles made some adjustments that got them just enough. which is true. It kind of piggybacks on that last question of just the Chiefs overall this season, not really having those adjustments, especially coming out of the halftime. Obviously, we're having 3 straight games of not even scoring in the second half, this Eagles game included. So definitely interesting kind of theme. We saw it a little bit change in the Raiders game. They kind of came out and figured it out a little bit better. But yeah, definitely has been a theme of the season of just, you start off okay, and then the back half kind of, you don't quite get over that hump. What do you think, Kyle?
They've struggled offensively from an adjustment perspective all season. If there's anything you're going to point to that's a difference, I think maybe from the Eric Bieniemy regime to the Matt Nagy regime as far as offensive coordinator so far to date, that's probably the biggest noticeable change. There doesn't seem to be any adjustment at halftime. It's either working or it's not. Now, I say that in regards to the Eagles game. They did seem to make some adjustments even in the Packers game in the second half. They made adjustments in the Raiders games. They can do it. I don't know why we don't see it more often. This goes back to, are they setting things up for later, since that's the term they love to use? They don't ever want to say they're holding things back, because that would be not respecting our opponents all equally. But are they setting things up for later, which is the exact same thing said a different way? It's something to pay attention to. If they continue to not be able to make adjustments or continue to see something work and then completely and totally go away from it, that's now. Andy's kind of done that throughout his career in the past. He's had some issues. Andy himself has had some issues with that. And remember, he has 51% of the vote, no matter what. So, as much as we can talk about Nagy and Bieniemy, there is always an aspect of it that is Andy's. Now, if you listen to our friends over on the Kingdom Cast, when they had Mr. Jeremy Macklin on, he shared some information that was, I thought, interesting about the play calling stuff. And you can go catch that over there. But it's not just EB calling plays. It's not just Andy calling plays. It's not just Nagy calling plays. They all do it they really are not joking when they say they do that as a group. They are apparently serious, according to some of the players that used to play for them. I don't know.
Yep. Corey, what do you think?
Going back to your point originally, Garrett, about the second half adjustments against the Raiders, for the longest time, I've always gone on X or Twitter and just posted almost weekly that the Chiefs are a second half team, because they're always going into these second halves down. And, last year or in previous years, you'd be like, oh, it's no problem, but this year it's been a problem. And there have been no adjustments at all, in my opinion, especially lately. That's all I have to say. I don't know what else to add. I mean, they got to do something in the off season for sure.
They need the self-scouting thing, which we talked about out of the bye, on the bye. That was something they've done some self-scouting. I will grant them that. They need to trust their self-scouting a little more, because we saw them make the right steps and then they got a little gun. Now, injuries play a factor. Availability for guys plays a factor. They went away from some things. Noah Gray wasn't hurt against the Green Bay Packers. He just wasn't used a ton, and I don't know why. It's an adjustment thing, and to the question, I have no concerns about Spags' second half adjustments. As a matter of fact, if the defense is not playing well at halftime, I'm almost confident they'll be better in the second half, which is never been his problem. He's always made adjustments. That's why his defenses always get better throughout the year, and that's why they always usually get better as a game goes. So that part of it, I wish the offense would adapt a little bit of the Spags and get more adaptive to their game plans. You have a play sheet that looks like a Denny's menu mixed with a Waffle House menu and mixed with the KC Cheesecake Factory menu. Figure out some plays on there that we can mix together that are not the same setup, guys. You're plenty smart. You have way too much intelligence in that room amongst the brain trust to have these kind of issues with play calling decisions, which is what we've seen this year.
Yep, that is very true. And even back to the original question, they even mentioned running the ball and then that kind of disappearing in the second half too, when, it's just kind of the thing. Isaiah Pacheco is one of the best running backs in the league, and they don't seem to realize that. And you have one of the best offensive lines in the league, best interior offensive lines in the league, and it's just they don't remember it, and they just kind of get away from it. Yeah, they do kind of overthink it.
He can't punch someone during a game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That one's a no-no. And he knew, and he knows, and it's there's a lot of pieces. We talked about it on the episode of the review of the episode. He doesn't punching people in the middle of the game is bad for you. We need you on the field. Don't do that. And you're punching somebody wearing a helmet. You're dumb. That hurts. Don't do that.
Yeah.
Part one of that. Part two of that is I really wish that the people responsible for having control of the game had control of the game, because if they did, that scenario never happens.
That's true. That's true.
Both of those factors and both of those things can and are true in this situation.
Yeah.
Did the player make a mistake? Yes. Did the officials allow the situation to ever become a thing because of their routine and continuous mistakes, especially on that play alone? Yes.
Yeah. All right. Moving on to the next question here, also from at JH over here. Corey, this would be a good question for you to hop in first and foremost, because I know you're big onto this train. Snead and McDuffie played great again. The D in general, really. Where would you rank this cornerback duo?
Second best in the league, maybe first. I don't know. They're pretty awesome. What do you think?
They're definitely up there. I mean, the combination of L'Jarius Snead and McDuffie, they have really developed into a solid dual threat on both of them. It's crazy. Like we've talked about it a little bit on the podcast this year, but they've kind of even switched roles this year, and you've seen a lot more of McDuffie in the slot and Snead going outside and covering the number one receivers, and they're still doing it. Like they're still working really well. They're playing really well. It's impressive to watch. This is definitely one of the best cornerback duos I think that we've seen in the Chiefs in quite some time. And I'd put it, at least top 3 in the league, if not number 2, number 1.
So KCSN did a poll about Chiefs cornerbacks duos of all time. And look, man, there was a couple of very, very old Chiefs household names that have been very near and dear to this fan base for a very long time that played together in the secondary group together at a very long time. They were excellent. I don't know that they're better than these two guys are right now. I don't. I said it. I was early on it. I was ahead of it a little, just because I didn't need to see any more from Trent. I already pretty much knew what I was getting from him when I saw that after the injury last year, and after about 5 games last year after that injury. Once I saw he was fully back, no, there was no questions. That dude he's a dude. You don't get guys like this very often. To have 2 of them, it's special. I don't know who the other duo in the league that's as good. I like just a pair of corners on the same roster. That are still currently playing, that are healthy, that are right now active. I don't know.
I think that they don't get they deserve, because you don't see the pick sixes. You know, they're very physical players, aggressive. They want that ball, and they will get it. It's just they're not doing like a one-handed pick six,
you don't have the flashy
players down this season.
Yeah, they don't have the flashy interceptions and whatnot, but definitely when you look at the nitty-gritty of the tape and, like I said, the physicality, the overall play, it's I'd say they're definitely the top of the league. So moving on to the next question here. Moving on to the next question here. From looks like at the artist chief 3471. I don't know who that might be. That's kind of an interesting fella here. If the Chiefs could hire 2 GMs, one for offense and one for the defense, Brett Veach, would you be cool with that outside of the whole Speaks pick? Kyle, what are your thoughts?
Not really, because then you'd have to be guessing on who does what with the offensive line that he rebuilt from scratch in 5 minutes to win you a Super Bowl. A lot of the moves, the Tyreek trade wouldn't have been allowed. He wouldn't have been making that deal because that's an offensive player. Does that return look the same? Do they get to use the draft picks the same on the way that they did? Because that's why your defense looks like it does from the depth perception. Like Nah, man. The stuff that Brett deals with. Look, you're gonna miss picks. There's a reason that I constantly hammer Tom in the forehead with. You mean lottery tickets? You mean chances? You mean it could be even Chris Jones? If it's a draft pick that might be as good as Chris Jones, it could even be Chris Jones.
Yeah,
you got like it's
either
not
the boat or
by
the mystery
any means
gift,
an
you know.
exact science. So
The
I would
mystery gift
leave
could be
Brett
anything.
Beach alone and let him do his thing. Would be what I would do.
Yeah, I'll say, Brett Veach has had a pretty good, outside of basically just the skill positions, I guess, which is kind of just the main
One
flashy
position.
thing of.
One.
Was that?
Because you love
One.
Isaiah Pacheco and he drafted him too.
That's true. Yeah, you have Isaiah Pacheco, you have Rashee Rice. I mean, I guess he just really hasn't taken a lot of stabs at the wide receiver position, at least through the draft. I mean, he's signed some guys. He signed Juju. That's a good pickup. Was last year. MVS was a fine pickup last year.
Taking some late round picks, some mid round picks, second and third rounders.
Yeah.
Guys.
I mean, you look at guys like Noah Gray in the 5th round, even like Noah Gray in the 5th round is a good pick. Like, obviously what he did to the offensive line, rebuilding them with a 6th round pick and Trey Smith, Creed in the 2nd round. I think overall, the way that Brett Veach in his tenure as the GM has had to reshape this roster, it's a year by year thing. The first year he did the defense, then it was the offensive line. So it's kind of a process of going through, and then the next year is like the secondary really.
And the other thing to keep in mind for that is the first 3 years, at minimum, he was fixing somebody's cap disaster piece that Mr. Dorsey put together before getting the kick out the door.
Justin Houston.
Holy crap. Justin Houston, Eric Berry, like the contracts were awful. The cap situation was he had $11 in the bank account at one point, didn't he?
Yeah. Pretty much like 271 or something. Yeah.
He had $11.
Like $7.
And he's won you 2 Super Bowls. You've been to 4?
Can I just say that my question was a good question because I got you guys all fired up on this one.
It's a very thought-provoking question. Yeah.
It's a good question. It's the conversation about Brett Veach, especially the super reactionary conversation week 4 to week 7 every year, drives me insane.
Yeah. Okay, moving on to the next question here from at DK or DCKC. Where would you honestly rank our wide receiver group at this point in the season?
Which
granted,
episode was that on?
This was directly after the Eagles game, so it's the Eagles episode.
32?
No.
Yeah, it's gotten much better since then, really.
They're bottom 5 probably right now. I don't know that they're the worst because there are a couple of receiving course, namely one of which is on your television set if you're watching Thursday Night Football. There's some worse receiver rooms.
31st.
It's not good.
31st in the league. Get it together, boys. This is tough love. Rashee Rice got you 1 spot.
Yeah, that's Rashee Rice. I mean, Kadarius Toney has some juice to him a little bit. Justin Watson's there, but definitely, I don't know if I'd call him the worst because there are probably some really bad receiver groups out there, and especially injuries kind of also play a task. I mean, luckily for us, the injuries really haven't been too big of an issue for the wide receiver group outside of Kadarius Toney a little bit, but definitely bottom 5. I agree with Kyle there, bottom 5. Which is not ideal for a playoff caliber team with Patrick Mahomes on it. So moving on to the next question, another one right after the Eagles game. I would like to know what you all think on how our receivers are having issues with not holding on to the ball. That was from at Roju Ruru. What do we think of the receivers not being able to do their job and catch the ball? That is... We've kind of we've hinted about this a lot on our episodes, a couple episodes. Multitude of things. They're not being coached right, I think, which is a big problem. And we'll, I think, get to that a little bit later as well. But it's just so many issues: the inexperience, the regression that we've seen from some of these guys, just concentration drops, not running the right routes. Not knowing what they're doing on plays. It's an overarching thing, and really the pass catching is just kind of like the cherry on top of it all. I mean, if everything else was okay and it was just the pass catching, we might be okay still. But it's just, yeah,
that's an easy fix if it's that.
Yeah, it's so much more to that. Now, if all of this was happening and the pass catching was good, it would be all right. But it's just, yeah, it's definitely a big overarching issue for the wide receiver group.
Corey?
I've got nothing to add, man. I mean,
I'll keep it specifically to the
coaching changes. They're not tough enough on them. I think they're trying to be these finesse players, and they're not even good at the finesse part of it. I mean, you can't catch a football. We got like 18 Demetrius Harrises on the field. It's ridiculous.
I'll keep it specifically to the question about the catching of the football problems. For Rasheed, he's trying to when he's stopped. We talked about it I think on the last episode. When he is stationary catching the football, he has problems. When he is moving, he's fine. His problem is he's trying to run before he catches it, so he's dropping the ball. That's Rasheed's problem. The rest of the wide receiver room's drop problems have two problems, and they both start with C's. They're the two C's. There's confidence drops, and there's concentration drops. And a lot of the time, the concentration drops feed into the confidence drops, and then you have a nasty thing that they call the yips, and then we have problems. And in at least one instance, probably two, you have the melding of them together. And the biggest problem is the melding of them together that's most noticeable is in your most veteran wide receiver. He's the one that's having the yips drops. He's not bad. He's just not playing well. And that's a problem when you're supposed to be the guy in that room. He's got confidence and concentration drops. MVS is having problems from a both standpoint. That's the issue.
He's making a lot of scratch, man.
He's making the most in the room. I don't know about a lot, comparatively speaking to wide receivers, but he's making the most in the room for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, moving on. That's no excuse for him to not be better than he has been. You can't misrun routes and drop the ball, and you're doing both. And you're part of the reason you're dropping the ball is you're worried about where you're running your route, and you're part of the reason you're running your route wrong is you're worried about catching the ball. You're too deep into the league to be having these issues.
Yeah, it's definitely an issue. Hopefully we kind of figure it out.
And he isn't going to get more confidence until he's in the role he's supposed to be in, which is the slot, and in a position doing the things he should be being asked to do, which is not run fade routes. But that's another thing for another time.
Yeah. Okay, on to the next question here from Deb Perbeck. Have we figured it out, and will this be our last loss? Deb, I hate to break it to you. It was not our last loss, and we have not figured it out. From Randy Ellenberger, not really a question. He just said, didn't wait to go the way we wanted to, but the sky isn't falling. We just need to catch the ball, which, that's true.
Yes, we do.
That's true.
That was the Philly game, right? That's still true.
That was after the Philly game. Yeah. Yep, still true. Back from another question from @JH here. We've got, I know they were assigning blame for Palmer in the Charger game to LJ, Jarius Sneed. Was he really the guy responsible? Keenan kind of got shut down, right? Referencing Josh Palmer in the Chargers game, kind of going off, having a lot of yards. Meanwhile, Keenan Allen did kind of get shut down. And, it's I don't think LJ was primarily on Josh Palmer, if I do recall. Usually they're putting him on number one receivers, which is why Keenan Allen didn't get many yards that game. Josh Palmer fell onto the rest of the DB room, really, which is we've seen the kind of theme as well with Jacoby Myers popping off in the Raiders game, and in this Packers game, some guy popped off. I think I forget his name.
And it was Christian Watson.
Yeah, that's his name. Yeah.
And you're right. Most of that was against Josh Williams or
Jalen
Watson or Shamari Connor, who's been getting more and more run lately, by the way.
Yeah, even Justin Reed a little bit is kind of involved in that third wide receiver responsibility.
I wish we would stop having him cover wideouts. You have the corners. I wish you would stop using the safety that isn't great in coverage, as you can tell by his coverage stats. If you saw that chart today, I don't know if anybody did or not, but Wasn't great. This was the comment that I was thinking about earlier when we were talking about the duos question. The broadcast seemed to think that it was somehow Legarius's doing that. Palmer was going off based off of one play, and I believe that was a zone coverage play. So no, yet again, the broadcast driving narratives that don't. This is where we talk about broadcasters need to be careful with the crap they talk about during games. If any fan base is familiar with that, it's this one this year. We know, but no, there's the misconceptions. The thing about Snead's corner play is it's not going to be pretty. It's going to be ugly. It's going to be nasty. He's tough. He's physical. He's in your face. He's aggressive. He's going to get flags. You're also not going to get much on him. Ask Devontae Adams. That first half, he got somewhere. That second half, he got nothing and liked it. That's a pretty jersey with a nice signature on it.
That's a very nice jersey, yeah.
So that's the answer. I mean, I'm sick of broadcasters creating narratives that are stupid.
Audience, I just threw up my jersey that was autographed by Snead.
Yes, Legarius' autograph.
Audience.
Yeah, he's definitely not to blame for most of it. Like I said, most of what Josh Palmer did was on around zone coverage. So one of those things. It's you can't cover everybody.
You're doing a little Pro Bowl vote tweets, and you're trying to figure out make sure which players for the Chiefs are on there. Both of those corners' names should be on every single one of those tweets, every time.
Yep. That's very true. Corey, anything to add on Chargers game?
I didn't see any of it. Next question.
All right. From House of Gushers, think we need a different wide receiver coach? ? Yes.
Heck yeah.
Yes,
Tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yes, we do, House of Gushers.
Yeah.
I don't think
there's nothing even else to really add to that.
It's not even his fault. I just think he needs to be a coach somewhere else.
Yeah, maybe just get some more experience as an assistant coach and learn. Yeah. I mean, just go through the ranks a little more than, having he was playing at like Northwest Missouri Valley State like 3 years ago, and now he's a wide receiver coach for us. Like, come on, let's take a little bit more time here,
He jumped the line.
Yeah. I don't know. I would prefer the running back coach and the wide receiver coach switched coaching positions at this exact moment. That's what I wish.
At least. Next question from our buddy Stuart McLean. Was the Packers game really rigged by the referees?
God, no. It just looked so bad that it looked like it was. And I'm not telling you which team they rigged it for. That's how bad it was.
The way
they rigged it for. That's the problem. They were so bad. You can't tell who it was for.
Pretty much always my argument for anyone who always says like, oh, the refs rig games or whatnot. It's like, you really think they're competent enough to figure out how to rig things, Like, they don't know what they're doing out there. They have no idea. It's like they're not smart enough to do that. That would be some smart activity, and we don't see that from the refs. So no, it's not rigged. It just looks really bad every single week.
It's uncontrollable and complicated.
The one thing for the conspiracy theorists that exist in this country, period, like, do you really think that a big group of people can come together and always have this exact same thought process and do the exact same thing? It just doesn't work that way. Half the refs are morons, the other half are smart, but they're not going to just...
I think half might be a high number.
Yeah. I'm just saying, like, it's not happening. Like, everything Garrett said's right.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Couple final questions to round it out. We've got a couple from the Artist Chief 3471. That's interesting. Ooh. Yeah. That guy, I think he had a couple here. And then we also have a couple of other ones from JH to round us out here. Very interesting one right here. The first off, would you rather have Phillip Gaines at wide receiver or Sky Moore at cornerback?
Sky at cornerback.
Yeah, I think I might lean Sky too, just because
we know Phillip Gaines can't catch.
We know. I mean, we don't need him trying to actually.
We also know he doesn't know how to run routes because he couldn't cover anyone's route ever. So
Sky's an athlete. I feel like Sky's a pretty good athlete.
I never put Phillip Gaines on a football field again. That's the answer for me on that one.
I would tend to agree. I want to publicly apologize to Sky Moore. Sorry, Sky.
Yeah, basically just put him at the bottom of the barrel of personnel that is going to be for the Chiefs. So that is tough.
No, Scandrick was worse. Phillips still not the worst corner in Chiefs history. Orlando was way worse.
That's true. Steven Nelson takes that third place spot, and yeah. Okay, another question here from the artist Chief. Mailbag question: rank the following: ribs, brisket, burnt ends, and pulled pork. Kyle, I'll start with you since you're native to the barbecue lands. I am unfortunately not.
So this is going to be different for everybody naturally because everybody has different tastes. But for me personally, if I have to put them in an order, it's ribs, burnt ends, brisket, pulled pork. In that order.
Yeah, Corey. I'll let you get to yours in a second. That is going to be my order as well. I think ribs are definitely number one.
I love ribs. Ribs has been one of my favorite foods since I was a small child. So yeah, ribs all day.
Ribs are also up there for me. And every time I've been to Kansas City, I've gotten burnt ends just because you don't really see that a lot outside of Kansas City. And boy, are they good. All right, boy, are burnt ends very good. And then brisket is obviously very top tier. A lot of uses for it, but just as a standalone, I think it's got to be third. And then pulled pork. I mean, pulled pork is all right. I mean, there's different levels of pulled pork and quality and whatnot. But the problem is you have to eat it in a sandwich form. Usually, you can't do it just by itself. And I mean, all great options. All great options. Corey, what would your ranking be?
Okay, first of all, Garrett, you absolutely can do it that way.
Kansas Cityans will tell you that you can't eat pulled pork that way. It's
okay, well that's why I'm not from Kansas City. All the pulled pork I have is just pulled pork sandwiches. That's basically all my biggest encounter with it.
West Coast style sandwich.
Okay. My number 1 is burnt ends. My number 2 is pulled pork. 3 is brisket, and 4 is ribs. Sorry, fellas.
Not a fan of the bones, huh?
Not a ribs guy, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Well, to each their own. Can't go wrong with some good barbecue in whatever form it is. That's 100%.
I love ribs, man.
You guys need to try my. That's all I'm saying. Like pulled pork in general, you go to the restaurant and it's fluffy. It's a little dry even, but like the way I do it, it's still tender and juicy, man. It's great. So
I don't think I've ever had good pulled pork, so I think I'm going to take you up on that someday because I need to experience the truth behind pulled pork.
I'll tell you this. I have a buddy. If you're in Wichita, if you're in and around Wichita, I'm going to give a little free pub to a friend of mine. He's got a restaurant in town called Station 8. And if you want Kansas City barbecue, not in Kansas City, especially burnt ends, go to Station 8 in Wichita. There, if you're in town, the burnt ends there are made it hard for me not to put them number 1 over ribs. I almost did.
I would understand that completely. Next question here. Also from the artist Chief, do you think Veach goes full wide receiver mode in the draft and free agency like he did on the O-line after Super Bowl 55? Answer is pretty resounding. I would guess so. Yeah, I would think so. That's basically Brett Veach's theme. Every single year, he takes the worst position group, absolutely blows it up, and makes it 10 times better. So I think we talked about it even on one of our episodes that if there's any bright side to all of this is that next year it's going to look a lot better, almost guaranteedly, because Brett Veach doesn't like to get embarrassed like with stuff like this, and this is definitely an embarrassing skill position group right now. So safe to say he should right the ship.
I hesitate to say clean house because I don't think he's going to clean house, but I do think there's going to be a large changeover in personnel, and nobody's going to have really a guaranteed spot other than Rasheed. You're in. Everybody's got to earn it territory because they've been so bad this year from an all-over perspective. And that's Kadarius, that's Sky, that's everybody. That's Richie. It doesn't matter. The only guy that's been remotely consistent is Rasheed. So
that's true.
From a completely tear it to the studs, no, but I have a feeling that it's going to be Rasheed, Sky, and a bunch of other faces we've not seen before, probably.
Yeah, maybe just Rasheed. Who knows? Corey, what do you think?
I think you guys covered it all. I mean, I don't know what else to add other than maybe a little bit of tough love. Like this team at wide receiver seems like a group of celebrities, not wide receivers. That's not even like a shot at them, like saying they're soft or something, because they're not. They're just not focused.
I would say there's definitely a lot of, I think, nuances to the wide receiver position that a lot of them aren't super good at, like we kind of saw it a little bit in like McCole Hardman's development where like he was so new to the position that he really didn't grasp all of it. Now I feel like a lot of these guys are at least a little bit more experienced at the position, but it sure doesn't look like it. There still seems like to be some key wide receiver traits that they're just kind of missing that you don't really see out of just good old fashioned wide receivers, catch the ball.
And this goes back to the coaching conversation and the position coach specifically not having any experience playing the position, being in the position at the highest levels, knowing what that feels like, knowing what that looks like, knowing little tips and tricks to teach them to get over. He's never done it. So like, how can you teach it? And with a bunch of young guys, and I mean a bunch, because again, other than 2 guys, nobody's played more than 2 seasons on this roster. It seemed short-sighted at the beginning of the year to have a guy with that coaching resume end up as the wide receiver coach. We talked about it in July. It was something to monitor, and we're here, and now we're monitoring it, and it's bad. So, personnel, coaching, I think it's a combination of both, and they need to get at least it somewhat remedied some fashion with the upper tiers of this coaching staff stepping in.
Yep. All right. Moving on. The last question here from JH. It's a little bit of a 2-parter. Actually, an interesting topic we haven't quite discussed yet on the podcast. Will the Chiefs or should the Chiefs add tight end Zach Ertz? That's his name. It just says Ertz on the. But Zach Ertz, should they add him? What do you think with going more 12 and 13 personnel? Because it seems to work pretty well when they do it. Kyle, what do you think? Should we add Zach Ertz and should we run more 12 and 13 personnel?
I don't know on the Ertz thing because I don't know how much is left in the tank. I mean, if he's cheap and it's going to be no big deal and it's kind of a free, yeah, sure. If it's more talent, more pass catching options is never a bad thing. Having another guy who's probably a Hall of Famer, having 2 Hall of Fame tight ends has never hurt anybody's feelings either. But no, straight to the personnel point. I just talked about it with Noah Gray earlier, I think, in one of the mailbags. Yeah, 12 and 13 personnel. When you don't have the receiver core, run the tight ends. Yes. 12 and 13 personnel, more please. You run better out of it, as we've seen time and time again. You play action teams out of it because you run better out of it, so you throw better out of it. And your more reliable options currently play tight end. Why wouldn't you put them on the field?
Yeah.
And if you can add another one, like I said, who's a Hall of Famer for cheap, sure.
Yeah. Might as well. Corey, what do you think? Zach Ertz, you in the Zach Ertz camp or not?
My dream in life, as like a football fantasy, would be seeing Tony G line up across from Travis Kelce. So, hell yeah, bring him on board. Let's go. Put out some 2 tight end sets. They just don't trust the other tight ends enough to do that.
Noah Gray, he gets good usage when he's on the field. It's just they don't do it enough. And with adding Zach Ertz, it's kind of been a little bit of a theme this week on Chiefs Twitter of like veteran wideout options to add. People are looking like for Jarvis Landry and T.Y. Hilton and all these crazy things. It's like if you're looking for a reliable pass catcher who's
I saw Kenny Golladay.
Yeah, Kenny Golladay. We talked about it in the last episode. There's been some very interesting conversations with guys who haven't even played in like a year or 2. Zach Ertz played this season.
When they did.
Yeah, exactly. Zach Ertz played this season. He's still up to conditioning. It feels like if you're going to want to add a valuable, veteran pass catcher, you probably should call Zach Ertz first and foremost. And we've seen a lot of good 12 and 13 personnel usage that the Chiefs have had, especially last year. We saw it a lot when they were using Jody Fortson in that role in 13. But like Kyle said, you can throw out of it, you can run out of it so much better. And if your wide receivers aren't up to task, you get the best pass catchers on the field, whoever they may be. And honestly, if you were to rank them, like Noah Gray and Zach Ertz would probably be a top 5 on this team. So
Travis Kelce, Rashee Rice.
Yep.
Those 2.
Yeah. And then, what a Justin Watson maybe as that 5th guy. Like that would be the best 5 pass catchers on the team. So seems like that would be, I don't know if they'll make it happen or not. I don't know if the cap would I don't know. He'd probably be pretty cheap at minimum. They could probably fit him in there. I don't know if it's something that they will do. There was no crossover with Zach Ertz and Andy Reid, right? Because Zach Ertz is in Philadelphia.
I think Ertz got there right after Andy left.
Yeah, I want to say he might have even been drafted 2013, which was Andy's first year in KC. Yeah, he was drafted in 2013. So 1 year off of that, but I'm sure. Yeah,
there's probably
a connection. And obviously, with Travis Kelce and knowing all tight ends in the world, they probably have a pretty good relationship. So
I think he's a TEU constant. So
yeah, so I am definitely down for that. We will see if they decide to do that. They have been the first initial reports of Zach Ertz being a free agent. The Chiefs were mentioned in basically all of them. Now, the Chiefs are also mentioned in every free agent player available because Chiefs fans just eat that stuff up, and networks know that, so they get a lot of
it too.
Yeah, so we will see on that front. But that is the end of the mailbag. Thank you all for tuning into this portion of the episode. Corey, thank you so much for joining us on this part. Be sure to follow him at Corey04. Yeah, and doing the giveaway for us. Anything going on for you in the coming art world?
No, I just have one thing to say. I appreciate you guys having me on. I love the show. I'd be happy to promote you guys at any turn. And let's go Chiefs.
Yes, sir. So we will now jump into the Packers. Sorry, to keep on saying the Packers. The Bills preview. I already talked about the Packers. We'll talk about the Bills here with Arrowhead Tom coming up. And we're back with Arrowhead Tom joining us. Wow, on a different day. Tom, how are we doing today?
We really could have. I could have just pretended to be Corey, and
nobody would have noticed. You guys are like twins.
Exactly. Yeah. No, there's not too many men who walk the planet who are as handsome as him and I. So it's really easy to get us mixed up.
No kidding.
You really gave us away there, Garrett. I'm doing well. Sorry I couldn't be here for the mailbag. Life. But I'm here.
We'll do the easy 2 mailbag questions for you. Rank your barbecue. These 4 items in order: ribs, brisket, pulled pork, burn-ins.
Ooh, burn-ins, pulled pork, brisket, ribs.
Ooh,
wow, that was like similar to Corey's.
And Corey with the hate for the ribs, I see. Gotcha.
Yeah, me and Kyle.
It's not worth it, man. If I got to eat around the bone and get my hand all messy, no.
They're so good.
That's how
me and Kyle put ribs at 1.
Flavor is so good as that bone. You get that marrow. Oh, yummy.
Yeah, me and Kyle put ribs at 1 and pulled pork at 4.
Yep. Give me the ribs. Give me the burn-ins.
You're not doing for your pulled pork right then.
That's I admitted that. I admitted that on the podcast. I probably haven't.
I would just prefer. I will always prefer burn-ins and brisket over pulled pork, and I've been a rib kid since I was very, very little, so I love ribs.
Ribs are delicious.
I do love pulled pork. It's just not the same as the other 3, and mostly because burn-ins are like crack at this point.
Okay.
Burn-ins.
The only concession I'll make for any barbecue that's not Kansas City is the Carolinas have it right. Coleslaw, you got to get a good coleslaw on your pulled pork. You have to. That's what really elevates it.
Because I absolutely will not touch coleslaw, and I don't care.
I don't either. You couldn't pay me to eat coleslaw on its own. But if you get it, I'm trying to think of where it is. There is a place.
I can't do it. I can't.
It's like perfect.
I'll tell you one thing. Definitely nowhere on the West Coast is there any good barbecue. So I have been lacking in the pulled pork department, and next time I come out to Kansas City, I will have to properly divulge.
Tom, he said,
it might be Zarda that has
Tom, he said last night on when we recorded it a little bit ago, which, hey, behind the scenes, Garrett and I did the mailbag last night, and now we're doing this today.
It is a different day. You can tell by it being light out.
Completely different day.
Notice the lighting in the rooms and, us wearing different things.
We've not been here for 14 hours.
Yeah. So what was the second mailbag question that you had for him?
Yeah, the second one was I think is the one that's the most fun out of the mailbag stuff that doesn't have to go too deep into the weeds. Where do you rank the cornerback duo of L'Jarius Sneed and Trent McDuffie right now in the NFL?
Let's see. Miami has Jalen Ramsey, and who's down there in Miami with Ramsey?
Xavier Howard. Is he still there?
I think so. The fact that you're asking tells me more than what I need to know about that subject.
And then I will say Seattle has a really good combo in Devon Witherspoon and Tariq Woolen. Although Woolen's been a
Tariq
little
Woolen
banged
has
up.
had a little bit less of a year than last year.
He's been banged up
Not
this
as much
year.
fun this year.
Yeah, he's just
Devon
been
Witherspoon
battling
is a
the
dog,
injury,
though.
but to counter that point, so did McDuffie had injuries last year. So looking at whole bodies of work. If we're talking this year, I think it is a tough one to beat these two. Just these two alone.
That's what I said.
Like, and this year's sample size, I think you have the two best guys right here, which is just a perfect reason to keep them together. And maybe you have to forego signing another massive defensive free agent. In fact, maybe you can find a tag and trade partner, and then you could trade up in the first round and draft a wide receiver, and then you can just rebuild the roster from scratch. Anyways,
we can talk about wide receivers here in a minute because I have a question for you guys on that subject anyway. So
okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we're going to dive into this Bills preview now. You've all listened to, obviously, the mailbag. So we're going to just quickly knock out a little Bills preview here. There's a lot of there's actually a decent amount of stuff to talk about. That's good. We almost waited. It's almost good that we waited today because we learned all this stuff. A lot of injury news.
There's some news.
We learned the injury news today. Good.
Yeah, that is the biggest news for the Chiefs, with four starters being out for this game, which is less than ideal for sure. Isaiah Pacheco, Brian Cook, Donovan Smith, and Drew Tranquill are all out, confirmed out for this Bills game. Isaiah Pacheco had a shoulder injury that he ended up finishing the game. Well, I guess he didn't finish the game technically. He got thrown out like the last drive, but finished the game last week, but ended up having a shoulder that popped, I guess. Brian Cook with the ankle, obviously, we saw that last week. At least he's not on the IR, so that's at least a somewhat positive sign from him, I think, that they haven't put him on. Although I guess they could tomorrow. Usually they do the IR moves on Saturday, so we'll see with Brian Cook, but he is out. Donovan Smith as well with that neck injury, so we will see Wanye Morris get his first start of the season, which we will talk about. Great news there, I think. And then Drew Tranquill also out with a concussion that we saw last week. Luckily, we are getting, more than likely, getting Nick Bolton back this week. He's been a full participant in practice all week, and they'll probably end up activating him tomorrow, which is when they always do those roster moves and whatnot. But yeah, definitely a lot of injuries on the slate for this matchup versus the Bills.
I'm just glad that Brian Cooks is not worse.
Yeah.
I now there was a conversation of I think he was in a boot and crutches, which I'm not surprised.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeesh.
Let that thing like a compass going to the Bermuda Triangle. Like what?
Yeah, not good. And then the Donovan Smith thing is concerning because it's a neck, first of all, and that's as a very large human, when the core and the center structure starts to have issues, whether that be spine, whether that be back, whether that be neck, whether that be the middle portion, the main frame of the body starts to have problems. That's bad. And watching him on the sideline, watching him throughout that last game and all this stuff, it looks like it doesn't look good. We know from the Mitchell Schwartz thing, like, hey, my back hurts, to hey, I'm never playing football again, like that. Okay.
Yeah.
So that something to keep an eye on there. I was happy to see Wanye play well in what he was asked to do. I'm a little more nervous with it being start to finish, gate to gate. You're in there all day, kid. We'll see. I mean,
he saw a lot of snaps last week.
That's yes. Now there's tape and film, and there's things guys can look at, and this is the NFL and rookies and young guys. He's his left tackle. Like a rookie left tackle is nerve-wracking. I don't care if he's the first overall tackle in the draft. Like makes me nervous.
The Bills also do have
remember, and everybody hated it for like half a decade. Remember that whole thing? So
the Bills also do have a very good defensive line, especially two particularly good edge rushers that are
one of which is playing somehow. Anyway.
Yeah.
I wonder how Justin Ross feels about that. But anyways.
Yeah, no kidding. Tom, I know you were very excited.
Or insert NFL player here. Anyway.
Yeah, Tom, I know you were very excited to see Wanye potentially. Well, he will be getting his first start here. Like Kyle said, the tape has looked pretty good from Wanye. What have you seen watching him, and what are you looking forward to?
Yeah, so Oklahoma just churns out. We just talked about this on the Kingdom Recon podcast about like Oklahoma just turns out offensive tackles that are like at the very least serviceable in the NFL, and they always come in like pretty good pass blockers, right?
Better, that's all they do.
But Wanye looked a lot better as a run blocker than I expected him to be. And I know he gave up a sack, but like I think Seth Kaiser and even some others.
Yeah, that sack wasn't even on him.
It really wasn't on him. It was it was just there were a lot of things that happened. So
similar to what we saw with Orlando Brown.
Surprised for a third round guy. And I think what I'm most excited about is if he shows, let's say, I mean, and let me be clear, because I don't want to say I'm excited because like Donovan Smith, has had a long, successful NFL career. He's a Super Bowl champion. He's worked really hard since he's been here. I have nothing bad to say about him, as a player. I don't wish ill on him. I'm not excited that he's hurt. I want to be clear there. I'm excited at the idea that if they have a guy who can be the guy at tackle for them, which is, I think they saw something there when they took him in the third round. Mm-hmm. There's some expectations there. I think they're coming a little bit earlier. But here, it's the middle of his first season. So it's good to know if they're going to need, if he can be the guy. And if he could be the guy, you are erasing one of your biggest needs for this upcoming offseason off the board.
Bingo.
And that is huge from the free agency standpoint. That is huge from the draft standpoint.
And it's really cheap.
Yeah, and he's really cheap. And that essentially means, as we'll talk about, you could really throw your resources at wide receiver when it comes to putting things on offense and fixing the offensive performances.
If you only have to pay one tackle for the next 4-ish years, that changes a lot of your roster building options.
And it helps you keep Creed and Trey Smith in the building. Right. There's a lot of benefits here, in theory.
I'm excited. I feel bad for Donovan again. His play has been a topic. He's still been an upgrade over the guy that was there the year prior. For whatever you want to say, he's been better than that guy, and he's like a third of the cost or whatever he has been. So, yeah.
Even if he hasn't been better, he's been at least as good. Like even if you want to hate on Donovan,
yeah. Even if he's not been better than Orlando, he's been as good. So
been a lateral move at worst.
Yeah, and a lot cheaper. So, so by default, better because level of play same.
Donovan Smith is better. Let's just say that for sure. Definitely better.
With him, like I said, I'm excited to see it. It's just nerve-wracking. Now, you're going to get if this neck thing is a problem, you're going to get a good sample size to see what you got at left tackle. And then, like Tom mentioned, man, and we talked about, if he's good to go there, that's $20 million. You already know what you're paying the right tackle. So think about having to do that twice. That changes your whole roster makeup. And that changes resources allocations for your lottery ticket. Draft picks.
Definitely huge to get a starting left tackle in the third round. It'll be good to see him get a couple games here at the end of the season, and almost maybe the best season for it to kind of happen with just all the shakiness and the uncertainty of the offense. Like at least get a young guy in there, see what he can do, and you might have a very good draft pick on your hands that just add it to the list of solid Brett Veach picks in the later rounds. So
he was a good pick. Like I just think he flew under the radar, especially compared to last year's class where a lot of guys came in and made pretty instant impacts. Wanya this year, some of these guys are just kind of, they're waiting, right? And Wanya is a good example of that. I would hope they took him with the expectation that he's going to be, that he has the potential to be a starter, just based on where he was taken. And so now, obviously, they probably didn't think it was going to be this early, but I really thought, especially giving Donovan Smith a 1-year deal, that maybe that was what they were trending towards, and this may be the chance for him to take it and not look back. The other thing I'll say just about Donovan Smith, the injury, I think they labeled it as a neck stinger. You're getting into the nerve stuff. You're getting into the movement. But also the biggest thing, and I think people don't understand this, is like those neck stingers, like you can't grasp your hand. Like you're. And if you can't do that, you can't play offensive line. These are the injuries where people are like, I couldn't feel my arms. And when you were watching him on the sidelines, like he was having issues like with his shoulder and lifting, and that's where you're like, okay,
he was over there doing this. He was over there doing this the whole time.
Yeah, trying to get it worked out.
Which is really weird that they put him back in the game after he initially came out, and then he just came out again. It's like
he thought he got it loosened up. He's like, I can feel it. He got out there. He put the hand on the dude, and he had no actual feeling in it. And he's like, well, what? How do I? What is this?
Yeah, definitely an interesting situation. But we'll see Wanye get his first start, and then the last, relevant thing to talk about with the injury things. Obviously, Pacheco being out. Clyde Edwards-Helaire has been officially reported to be the starting running back on Sunday. We will be getting Jerick McKinnon back, though. He's been out for the past couple of weeks. We'll probably see another Deneric Prince elevation from the practice squad. And so, it's probably Andy Reid said that he has a couple of different packages for some different guys. We'll probably see a lot more Jerick McKinnon. We might see a little bit of Deneric Prince. We might even see a little bit of Kadarius Toney potentially at running back. They've done that a little bit so far this season, but definitely a huge loss for the run game not having Pacheco there. Obviously, he's far and away a better runner than anybody else on the roster. I mean, and it's not even, unfortunately, it's not even close. Like Jerick McKinnon's great in pass protection and catching and all that stuff, and Clyde's all right in some of those categories, but definitely a huge loss for the run game as a whole. So it's going to be interesting to see how they adjust to that.
It's a tough loss.
They're going to do what you guys don't want them to do, and I'm sorry to break it to people, but Clyde's going to. Andy already called him the starter, and said that there's packages for everybody. Look, man, when they want to run the ball, it's probably going to be Clyde first. It's just it probably is. Now that puts a little more onus on the offensive line to do a little more this week. You don't have your main horse back there. You got the backup horses back there. So now you got to give a little more. That's always one thing I've always like never really worried about with the Chiefs with the backup running backs is because it seems like in the games where the O-line knows the backups are in, there's just a little. They don't probably do it on purpose, but it just seems to be there's a little more to it. There's a little more to the gas pedal. There's a little more to their precisions. Seems to be the thing. And it's not just like this group. They've been doing this in Kansas City for years. Like think about Spencer Ware, Sharkandrick West with the all back through those days and the backup running backs forever. So it's a challenge game for the offensive line, as we've discussed a lot. Like I said, I think this game is more dependent on our offensive line than most have been, which is why the Wanye thing is interesting because the Bills D-line goes Greg Rousseau, Ed Oliver, Jordan Phillips, Von Miller, and line 2 is A.J. Epinesa, Linval Joseph, Tim Settle, and Leonard Floyd. Like
those are good players.
That's 8 guys. There's no real fall off in that group of 8.
They also have Shaq Lawson back there as well.
Yeah, and that's he's on the third portion of that depth chart. So,
definitely got a solid rotation in for the Bills D line. Definitely one of their strong suits.
Needs to play well
on
their
Sunday few strong
for
suits.
Their team to win. They have to. I will be interested to see if they don't have some more interesting faces in the backfield. I'll be interested to see how many chances Deneric Prince gets to touch the football. I'll tell you this. I bet you if he touches it once and it's a 7 or 8, or if it's a larger yard gain, I bet you he gets it again until he doesn't get a big gain. I bet you they do that with him.
Just based off of the preseason, he was probably the closest style to Pacheco. If you want to label like he's actually more of a downhill kind of pure runner, so they might get him going a lot in that.
Go guy.
They might try to get him really going in that role.
That might be a little generous. It's always hard in preseason because the quality of the offensive line drops so much.
That's true.
And I think like what Kyle said, those guys are going to want to help out the young backs, running and all that. So it's a unit.
McKinnon will be back, which factors into this as well with Jerick back.
Yeah, but they also
run him though. At least,
they also like to ease guys coming back from injury. They like to ease them back in. So
yeah, so we might see a lot of generic prints, honestly, which
or a lot of Clyde.
Yeah, definitely gonna see a lot of Clyde, unfortunately. But okay, so that's pretty much most of the Chiefs' injury news. The Bills don't really have a whole lot of injury. Josh Allen was a full participant all week with his right shoulder, and then Kaiir Elam is questionable for the game, which doesn't even matter. He's like a fifth string player at this point.
He's questionable to be on the roster, isn't he?
Yeah, pretty much. So we don't really worry about that. And then Dawson Knox
still on the team. I figured after the healthy scratch, I figured it was either release papers or.
Yeah, well, that we don't, as we know, that organization's kind of in shambles, which we'll talk about in a second. But Dawson Knox is the other questionable. He's tight end, full participant all week, but he's questionable for the game. So they might just have Dalton Kincaid back there at tight end. Who knows? That is a big factor for their offense.
Kincaid's had a pretty good season though, so don't keep on him.
Yeah, the tight end room in Buffalo is nice. They have a couple of really nice tight ends there.
Yeah,
which is also rough because we're missing Brian Cook. So
yeah. On that note, without Brian Cook, I do expect more Shamari Connor on the football field.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, most definitely.
I have a feeling that's going to be the Mike Edwards is obviously probably rotating into the starting lineup there as the other safety next to Justin Reed. And then that third safety position, I would not be stunned if you see some Shamari Connor in that role because it's the hybrid type position where they have him playing man coverage and doing things in the box. Like, don't be surprised if Shamari Connor's on the field a bunch.
Yeah, we've already seen him getting some decent play so far this year.
I'm talking a lot more snaps.
Well, yeah, obviously having that one other DB role open is gonna definitely increase his usage, which is good. He's had a solid little year for a 6th round pick.
4th round, 5th round,
4th
round. Okay, shout out Shamari Connor.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, no, he's a dude. He just needs to get, he'll get there.
Dave Tobe loves him because I think I saw an article today about him where basically Tobe's like, yeah, I love him, but I'm only going to get to keep him for so long because Spags is going to take him from me. And it's like, that day's coming sooner than we wanted, I think.
Yeah, sorry, bud. Got to share.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, moving on. Basically, we're gonna talk a little bit about the game. We'll kind of give some quick points about what we expect in the game in a second here, because it's kind of the same thing all the time with the Chiefs. Basically, if they don't shoot themselves in the foot, it should be easy. If not, we know the deal. But Kyle, I want to talk about that article. I want to talk about the article.
If you guys haven't read it or seen it, Ty Dunn over at his own Twitter handle and Substack and all that stuff, go support him because he did all the legwork on this. It's 29 sources of former players, coaches. I would be willing to bet some current players that are speaking in terms of
Stephon Diggs. Stephon Diggs. Sorry, guys. I got this
for that cough. It sounded awfully like you were trying to pull something out of the ground. I don't know. Anyway, move some dirt. I don't know. Anyway, so look, that article is as bad as it gets.
Yeah. So what was the article about? For those who haven't seen it,
the title of the article is "The Bills Have a Sean McDermott Problem." I believe is the title of the 3-part series. Like, it's the whole premise of the thing. There was lots of it to the point where he actually apologized for some of the things that were in that report, which I don't know who's his publicist or who's his PR person, but
deny.
Yeah, denial is usually the option that you go with in those aspects, not immediate acknowledgement, because now you give credence to anything else that's in that report, even if that's the only part that may be accurate, even if that was the only accurate part, even if now you've given credence to any bit of that thing because you gave it to the whole thing now. So I don't know that I would have gone that route, but I also get why he was like, well, damn. Because, Mitch Schwartz had a perfect tweet on this, and it was said tongue-in-cheekly, but it's also I don't know what else his thought process could have been. Mitch Schwartz was like, yeah, he saw all these people get in trouble for
for talking about how good of a leader the guy who used to run Germany was in the World War days. I won't even say his name because I don't want to get flagged on YouTube for us. So, but the guy with the mustache and the problem with people in used to run Germany, that guy, people always praise him. So they get fired when they praise him, right? So he decided, well, he saw the date on the week 1 schedule and was like, hey, that's September. You know what? I could use them instead. And here's my thing. Like, okay, great. You want to use that as a teamwork thing. How about the first responders? Why did your brain jump to the other team real quick? Like, what?
Yeah, that's a great point. Yeah. Could just say the first responders.
Also, why would you ever go there with a reference like that when you're freaking the head coach in Buffalo, New York? It happened in your backyard. Well, their backyard. Like, you're putting your players in an awkward situation. You're putting yourself in an awkward situation. Also, did nobody else see this speech before this went to the team? Like, usually assistant coaches and stuff get to see that stuff. How did that make that through? But again, the article goes into that because apparently,
excuse me,
he's a lot of do as I say, not as I do leader.
Nice to peddle the blame to others type thing.
Yeah. And in the article specifically, it states they know when the Bills got broken. And I think it's my favorite part of the article because it flat out states that the 13 seconds, the Kelsey overtime winner that the Chiefs tried to nonchalantly, quietly put out there. Garrett and I had a little bit of a discussion about that on Twitter earlier today. They didn't put the moment of the actual 13 seconds. They put the game-winning touchdown on their little poll and then let the rest of the fan base do the legwork of calling them out for us. But that's what broke them. 13 seconds broke them. And in part because McDermott didn't take responsibility for anything that happened. As a matter of fact, there's a quote in there where it's quoted that he said the offense let him score too fast. And I just want you to process that the offense scored too fast. They left too much time and too much time.
Yeah, from your defensive-minded head coach.
Yeah.
Right. That bit, that checks out.
And it goes through, and it's like 25,000 words, guys.
Yeah, he did it. He did a good job.
Parts.
I will say this:
30 sources, almost. Like,
for those who have been Chiefs fans long enough, this is equivalent to the Scott Pioli candy bar wrapper report.
Yes. Yes.
That is what it reminded me of.
Oh my God!
In a lot of ways.
Yeah, it was certainly an very interesting article to read. Like Kyle said, go check it out. The full thing is behind a paywall, but there's a little bit of
DUNNE. I think it's $8 a month.
Yeah,
just give him the $8 for this article alone for the month. Like, dude, guys.
Yeah. Definitely shines a very good light.
There's so much information in it, and I'm not talking you could explain their details, and some of them spoke with and put their names on it, which I respect the hell out of. The guys that did put their names on stuff. Now, some of them are a little different standing than probably some others in the league because they have the ability to say, "Hey, I can say this out loud publicly because I have a high enough standing in the league. I'm comfortable with where I'm at talking about what this dude is." He gets flat out called out a narcissist. He flat out gets called out about not taking accountability while expecting everyone else to. And some of the quotes that you heard him say publicly, you didn't realize that he actually said them privately and meant them to his own. Like, when he said everybody needs to get out of the building and go figure out what they can do better, he meant everybody but him, according to a lot of this. And stuff like that.
Definitely. So much stuff in that article just really made you appreciate what we got here in Kansas City. Like I said, go check out the full article.
So much worse.
Go check out the full article and read it and have some discourse over it. But definitely shines light into what's going on with the Bills and how they might be approaching this game here. To save us from having an hour and a half long episode here for you guys, we're going to kind of wrap this thing up.
How important is this game for them, though? With this coming out, with him at least giving credence to some of it, which, like I said, gives credence to all of it. This is for their season and likely probably for his job, I would guess.
I mean, you would really be hard-pressed to say that if they don't make the playoffs this year, he's probably going to be gone. And The only way, I mean, they're like 5-6 or something, 6-5 right now. So they need to basically win out. So yeah, losing this game would be very tough. So we're going to end this thing with some score predictions and just give a little quick minute quip of what we might think the game kind of looks like. I'll start. I'll go ahead and I'll take the lead on this thing. I'm going to go around the ballpark of maybe like a 34-21 win for the Chiefs. There's so many different outcomes I think that can really happen with this game. It depends on obviously whatever team shows up, because we've seen both of these teams play many games this year that they have just not showed up for. The Chiefs, shooting themselves in the foot constantly. Maybe, yeah, I don't know. It's going to be an interesting game. I really don't know a whole lot of what the tell is. These teams have played each other a lot, so they're definitely very familiar with each other. So that's going to definitely take into account some stuff. The defense, I feel more confident about going into this week. Like I said, just mostly because of their familiarity with this Bills offense and what Josh Allen can do. But yeah, just gotta wait to see what the offense does without having Pacheco there is going to be tough. So maybe they have to get a little more creative this week, which it hasn't been their cup of tea this year. But we'll see. So I'm gonna lean 34-21. Kyle, what are you thinking?
I genuinely have no read on this game for a multitude of reasons. The injuries were really rough last week. A lot of them piled up, big positions. Having Nick Bolton back is massive. That makes a drastic difference in this defense. And if nothing else, than just going, and this is not a shot at Jack Cochran, but the straight up upgrade in the mental processing and the calling of the defense and getting everyone aligned portion of the defensive side of the ball. Nick Bolton does that better than Jack Cochran. It's just a fact. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. The communication's more normal. They're more used to hearing it from Nick. Yeah. So just that aspect alone is big for me, of him being back. Pacheco not being there is concerning. The one decent thing is the Bills haven't exactly been excellent on the run defensive front. They're a good defensive line, but run defense hasn't been incredible this year. They've been better at it before. I don't know how that obviously doesn't scream healthy work environment. I don't know on their end of things. You can see some of the things on some of the players and things that, like, if it starts to go wrong, they unravel quick. And I can kind of tell why, because apparently that's all that the coach thinks about is what can go. I don't know. It's such a strange game for both teams need this game, but need it for very different reasons. So I expect Kansas City to take care of business. 31-24, and I don't even know if they get 24 until the end on some crazy stuff, trying to get it to one possession.
Right. Yeah. I like that.
I don't know what it looks like from an offensive perspective. I just expect this defense to feel a lot better. And the Buffalo Bills defense is injured in some areas. Their linebackers, we didn't even talk about them, but there's some matchups here that the Chiefs can exploit. Travis Kelce should have a fairly decent day, whether they run man or zone, frankly. That's kind of how it feels. I do want to say one thing in regards to, and this will be my last thing for the episode. The conversation on the Q&A about Eric Bieniemy and Matt Nagy that we had yesterday, Garrett, and the difference. I think the thing I want to amend slightly is I said that I don't know a ton of the differences. I know there's tons of differences, and mostly it's an approach thing. But I do think that the noticeable ones is the ones I discussed yesterday. But I think the approach level is different, and listening to more and more former players who've been around both talk about it, it's a different environment. So it's going to have different things. And that, I think, is probably the most interesting thing. And it goes back to the coaching conversation we had with Connor Embry. So anyway, I just wanted to clarify that, because I know I said something along the lines of that last night with the EB stuff, and I wanted to be clear. They are very different, and there are very different approaches to it. I don't know if one's right or wrong, but you're getting different results with them. So,
yeah. Tom, I know you got to bounce in a second here.
Yes. So here's here's what it feels like. I feel like you've got two teams that are literally backed in the corners right now, and in a lot of ways. I think the Bills' situation is worse than the Chiefs' situations from a record standpoint, from a division standing standpoint, from a playoff standpoint, and from a morale standpoint now. They could rally around this Sean McDermott stuff and use it, but it feels like the opposite. It feels so like there's a part of me that goes, so like this, to me, this game is not going to be close one way or other. And that scares me because either the Chiefs are going to get it handed to them or the Bills are. I don't see this. I don't think this is going to be one of those close games. So now, when I think about that, I'm choosing to hope and believe that the Chiefs are the team that, when they're backed into the corner, are going to come out with the most bite. So, I literally will have to log off as soon as I say this. I'm going to go 35-13 Chiefs.
All right.
Going to be a get-right game, and Sean McDermott is going to be out in Buffalo. Or, like I said, or it'll be flipped, and we're going to have all kinds of – although, as I'm saying that, I'm watching or listening – I'm, like, reading the captions on MVS's interview, and, like,
oh, Lord.
I want to throw stones, but our locker room is getting a little shaky now. There's some other issues on our squad. So both teams really in a bad place to find themselves at this point in the season. So I think one team is like – this is where you make your season or break it. So it'll be an interesting game. Big game for both teams. I got to bounce.
Yep.
I'll let you guys take us out of here.
Yep. We will close it out here.
To that point from Tom, I mean, this game could be the flipping point for both teams. I don't know how much of the comments I've seen pieces of MBS's stuff. I've seen the other stuff. That doesn't
retweeted it. I retweeted the MBS. It was very bad. It was pretty bad. I mean, the reporter asked a kind of an awkward question, but bro is, yeah. The reporter basically asked him, like, how have you been dealing mentally with all the stuff going on this season? And was like, what are you talking about? What stuff are you referring to? I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know exactly. I play for the Chiefs, so I don't know what you're all talking about. And it's like, hey, buddy, guess what? You're regressed tremendously this year. You've dropped so many crucial passes. You don't know what routes you're running. Yeah, there's some stuff going on. In case it's not clear to you. You kind of suck right now, and you should maybe take a little bit more accountability for it. They're
not going to do that publicly because they don't. That's not how they operate.
Not MVS for sure.
That's even Andy and them won't do that way. They won't go out and give you the straight. You know this. They don't. That's not how they operate. Now, handling it in the smug, goofy, I don't know what you're talking about manner.
Yeah, the way he handled it was very different than Andy or Pat or anyone would ever handle it. Yeah, you don't have to come out and straight up say like, "Oh yeah, I'm struggling," but definitely the way he handled it was not anywhere close to what Andy or Pat or anyone else would say.
You're definitely gonna make people mad when you come out and you handle it in that fashion. You're gonna get some responses that are not going to be favorable, as you could hear it a little bit there. Garrett was not thrilled with the way he.
I was a little peeved at it because it's like.
Yeah, and it makes sense. I don't think it's anywhere near.
Bro has 270 yards on the season. Like, what are you doing, bro? You have 270 yards in the season.
I don't think it's anywhere near the 20,000 word, 30 sourced person explosion that we just witnessed in Buffalo. There's some stuff that needs to get ironed out and some things that need to be paid attention to. You also may be hearing him venting frustration without being able to outwardly vent his frustrations.
Yeah.
There's a lot going on with these guys. It's a long year. It's a lot. This has not, by no means is this the year that he or the rest of that wide receiver room expected to have. None.
That's true. True. And I mean, to his credit, it is tough to just stand there at your locker after practice and a reporter says, "Oh, why you suck so bad this year? And what are you doing
how's
about
your mental health about everybody talking on you on the internet?
Yeah.
How's that?" Like,
it's
that's
like obviously it's
what the guy
not a fun question. He's had to do it a couple times this year, but
and we talked about this, being the vet in the room, being the old guy in the room, that suddenly makes you have to answer that question. Well,
yeah,
not everybody's good at that. Not everybody's used to that. And he's never really been the vet old guy in the room. It's either been Randall Cobb or insert
Devontae
or Devontae or Tyreek or Juju here. Not Tyreek wasn't here.
Juju
here.
This is really his first time where he is like the vet.
He's the old dude, and and when it comes to so Kingdom Cast, friends over at Kingdom Cast had Sharkandrick West on the other night, last night I think,
awesome.
when we were recording.
Love Sharkandrick.
And I was listening to it a little bit today, and it's going to be funny because you're going to hear pieces of the mailbag that we talked about that they also talked about. So it's quite funny because I was like, hey, we talked about that, but nobody else has heard that yet except us. It goes into some guys are go in and be able to teach the person, show you by doing, like we talked about with like Todd Pinkston or Jeremy Macklin or receivers like that or guys like that. And then
what if we hired Jeremy Macklin as a receiver coach?
They had J Mac on Kingdom Cast and that was brought up and we are all I'm on board. Let's do it.
Yeah,
now.
That'd be
yesterday,
great.
Today, now. But my thing is there's guys that are also just leaders by example of, hey, I'm just going to go out and ball. And then you guys, follow suit by being good. Also, not everybody is a teach you in the classroom leader.
That is true. It is. There are definitely different types of leadership.
The problem right now for MVS is he's doing neither. And that's what he's having the problem with. And it's hard when you're good at what you do, because let's not be crazy. Even the worst wide receivers in the NFL are better than 99.9999% of people because that's how the NFL works.
Yeah.
But when you're the best at what you do and you're really good at something for a really long time, and then stuff just starts going wonky and you're not really sure why, and you got a bunch of other people depending on you as the person to follow, that sucks for anybody that's ever done that in any position of work. Like, that's not fun. That's a tough thing to do. And then to have somebody come up to your locker and go, hey, why do you suck at what you do? Nobody wants that.
It is tough. And like you said, there's different types of leadership. And you also, like you said, you can just be a guy who isn't really much, not really a leader, just kind of
just a player. You're just good at what you do. And that's
like the way I think of it, like I kind of think of like Sammy Watkins when he was here, because like Sammy wasn't really a super outspoken guy. He was a little bit on the quieter side. He would just kind of show up and do his job. Yeah. The difference is that Sammy Watkins was actually good and was a good player. That's just
it's a matter of when things aren't going well and you've never done it before as the leader of something, and then it starts to backfire. It's tough, no matter who it is and what you're doing. So, like I said, I'm interested to see what kind of response you get. I'm also interested to see what kind of personnel response we get from the coaching staff. So I don't know that I see the Chiefs necessarily getting blown out because I think the defense is too good to get smoked like that. Like
I think so.
I think your two options for this game are either a Chiefs beating of the Bills or a game very close that goes high scoring, probably.
Yeah. It's like we say, it's really hard to get a read on this game just with how
these two
up and down.
Very weird.
Exactly. And both teams have just been so up and down, so inconsistent, so different than what they were even last year. We're talking about like two of the best teams in the AFC just, a year ago. And now it's just kind of, it's a weird time, but we're going to see. We're going to find out Sunday. Be sure to tune in for that one. It's in Arrowhead or is it in Buffalo?
I think it's here, isn't it? It's in the Arrowheads. I think let me check. Double checking. Yes, it's at the Arrowhead.
In Arrowhead. Okay, so that's going to be a good time.
The Chiefs are a 1-point favorite, so
a little 225 game.
Buffalo's better on a neutral field.
That is certainly interesting. We will see how that all plays out. But that will do it for this episode of The Kingdom Says. Thank you all for tuning in, watching, listening. Be sure to check us out on YouTube, The Kingdom Says over there. And then Apple Music, Spotify, wherever you find your podcasts at. And be sure to follow us at Kingdom Says Pod on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And we will see you guys next week after this Bills game. Hopefully we're in a lot better spirits than we were after the Packers game. Because, it's not fun to lose in the NFL, even though, Chiefs fans have definitely had it pretty good. Yep. So thank you all for tuning in, watching, listening. And we will see you guys in the next episode of